Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and the producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of our presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. B1 code, switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG.
What's growing on? What's growing on? What is growing on? Welcome to B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. I'm John Henry Harris, and we also have Farmer Brown, the MC. Here at B1AG, we focus on Black agriculture as it pertains to agricultural production, education, marketing, health, food, nutrition, and economics for the Black family and for the Black community. Welcome Black to the garden. Hey, y'all, there's levels to this. There's levels to this. Whenever we start a discussion, we always say we're going to dive deep. But we're here to tell you right now there's levels to this. One of our main subjects that we talk about is food security. And we speak of food security as it pertains to hunger. But now we're going to take it even, like I said, there's levels to this. So we're going to take a look at food security when it comes to emergency preparedness. Now, we all remember Katrina. We remember the ice storms in Houston that happened this past year. We were not prepared. And there's an old saying, that I've always heard, especially I've lived all over this country, and I've heard people say it, from the elders. I say it all over the country. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And today we have a special guest, Brother Leroy Shabazz. He's going to join us to talk about emergency preparedness. And of course, this is also going to involve food security. Now, we met Brother Leroy Shabazz at the All Black National Conference convention when we co-facilitated a session with Maj Toure dealing with survivalism. And I keep stressing to you, broadcast after broadcast, learning how to grow your own food is a survival skill. So we're going to take this to another level and bring in emergency preparedness into this discussion. So y'all give the B1 welcome to Brother Leroy Shabazz out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome, Brother Leroy.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you, brothers, for allowing me to be a part of your platform. I am so honored to be on the B1AG platform. I've definitely told you guys that many times. And to the B1AG audience, I really am honored to have some information to give to you and share with you. When we first planned this such situation, these segments, we were talking about the first phase of our conversation was going to be the 3 phases of a nation, guys. So I'm assuming that we're going to continue to talk about those 3 phases of a nation. Let me go ahead and run through some slides to give people my expertise on what I do. What I deal with is I'm a CERT program coordinator. I deal with a program called CERT, Community Emergency Response Teams. And that's a FEMA program that if we would have had in places like Katrina and situations like that, we would have been more prepared and more aware of what was going on, what our potential to get past the situation and move into recovery quicker than we did. So what you see on the slide right there, if you can bring that slide back, is like, for example, down at the bottom, those are CERT team members. Those are some white guys from, I don't know where they are, but there's a lot of them wherever they are that I pulled off of Google to show you. This program has been around since 1985. The CERT program has been, but we have no real access to it. Or no, there were black CERT teams, but we had no real appreciation of it. And we really still haven't gotten the full appreciation of it to this very day. Up at the top there, you see me. I started my first team in 2013. There was a big reality that I was the first black CERT team in the region. This is a 2015 class. So by 2015, this is a class that I did. This is not all the class. There were other people, but the on your left, the white guy on the right was from the sheriff department. He was the main speaker at our little graduation situation. The guy in front of him is the representative from the Cincinnati Fire Department, and so we were connected to a process with our county emergency management agency, and we can go into that later on because it's. The main point is that you really need to be connected to the system, even though it may let you down and you might have to pull out your gat and get busy. You try to get connected with the system to make it work for you. Next slide, brother. Let me run through these real quick, if you don't mind.
Brother Shabazz.
Yes, sir.
Just to point out to the B1 family, and so a lot of times when we think about disaster preparedness, it's through the auspice of paranoia. Oh, the boogeyman's coming. But according to US.gov, and so 1/3, 33% of people said they were concerned about a tornado affecting their community. Slightly lower number of 27% said they're concerned about a flood. Another 26% were concerned about being affected by a hurricane, while 1 in 5, 21% were concerned about the possibility of a terror attack. The highest percentile was 1/3. That was the 33% who said they're concerned. And so there's a difference between I'm concerned about something versus, okay, I'm going to take my concern and turn it into preparedness.
Exactly.
The point you were making, just in case the system lets us down, because the melanated family going back to Hurricane Katrina. So that's where my family's from, down in the deep South. And I remember I had to have cousins come up to Kentucky because they weren't prepared. There weren't these networks in place down there in Louisiana and along the Gulf to address some of these immediate issues. Unfortunately, we've fallen into kind of looking at YouTube as the end-all be-all of learning something. But one of the reasons we're glad to have you on here and going to have these series is because you dropped some heavy knowledge and information on us when we met you down at the All Black National Convention. We both came home, reading through the information, and it's so heavy. And so as you're going through these slides, can you stress to the people, it's not in a situation to be paranoid. We actually see this as an opportunity for us to take initiative and take charge of our outcomes. And so as you go through these slides, really point out to the melanated family why this is important. This isn't a thing to just brush to the side. This is a very accessible action item, depending on a person's intent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And again, before the show started, we talked about the fact that this is not a doomsday reality that I'm speaking to, but there are some hard times coming, and some situations that are coming, be it natural or there's some planned stuff that's about to take place. So people that are worried, when they worry and don't do nothing, what you do is you saying you're just going to wait for the system to help you. Now, if you black, if you are ADOS, American descendants of slave, and you in America, and you dumb enough to wait for white people to really help you when you can actually go do something for yourself, you are a plumb idiot. But people are going to do that even after hearing what I just said right there. But this CERT program, it actually teaches you some specific things to do, and it again gets you in communication and in connection to the government process. Now, the United States government has been dealing with disaster preparedness, disaster stuff since its beginning. But what's going on right now is that after 9/11, and you can call 9/11 whatever you want to call it, after 9/11, now you got the Department of Homeland Security. You got a whole situation of control and response, and we need to be connected to that control and response, because that situation of control and response, when I first went to become a certain instructor, I went to my Hamilton County Emergency Management Agency. A white guy came out and to answer my questions about it, told me he didn't know what I was really talking about, sent me on a wild goose chase. Come to find out, this was the white guy that was in charge of the county CERT program. Okay, so it's not an easy situation to walk into because you have institutional issues in the system. So did I answer pretty much? Maybe you can put me on point, brother, because I can't tend to drift off on.
Yes. And so, the first conversation we had, we were just talking about, because my job is in cooperative extension. These are state, government resources. These are real resources. We know that we've had a very contentious relationship with the governmental structure. But, I can speak through my experience, yours as well, upon kind of going through, you get tripped up, and we just learn how to be kind of swift on our feet. There are resources that, whether the government's going to be there to help us or not, these are things that we can know and need to know for ourselves, whether we're talking about food security or disaster preparedness.
Now,
deeper on just, why is this important? Go to the next slide.
Now, and again, brother, I just want you, the audience, to know that I'm not just making this up in reference to, and this is not just a what if. I can tell you right now, there are people that are going to go to FEMA camps. For example, I can be very specific with you. If the power grid goes out for a particular 3 weeks or more, the people in public housing will not be allowed to stay in public housing. So therefore, there are situations set up to come up with the big old lights and put people on buses and to take them somewhere. That's gonna happen. The point is that I say that we can get through that is if we have a connection to it. And again, this CERT team process allows you to be connected to the system. So if you end up going somewhere, you got people that can call back a radio back and say, hey, these folks ain't giving us water. They're not doing this, that, the other, and we can make it happen the way it should happen. Or you have to pull out the gat and do what you got to do. This particular slide right here, again, it just talks about, again, disaster preparedness. What you're going to do for yourself and your family, really basic stuff. That's what everybody's being taught. That's what everybody's understanding. Disaster preparedness. That's what they're pushing at you. Make a kid have a plan and be informed, right? That is great. That's what everybody should do. Make a kid have a plan and be informed. On the larger side of that, the way I look at it as an emergency management practitioner is that you can do for self and family, but you also need to work with your group and your community. And so I have a kid, I have a plan, I'm informed, but at the same time, I'm a part of a network that when something go down, I know what to expect to be happening from the emergency management agency situation. I know what the fire department is supposed to do. I know what the police department is supposed to, theoretically. I know what's going on. And at the same time, I should be able to let my community know that, hey, we got a CERT team here, and we are able to handle the situation and let you know what's going on, as well as if it was an earthquake. We know triage, we know medical triage. We're able to hold on to people until the first responders will get there. That's what one of the aspects of CERT. So the next slide will show even more what the initial training is. And again, for the B1AG audience, one of my reasons for being on here is to say that if you're ready to get CERT teams in your area, I'll be willing to come to your area and help you do it. I'll be willing to make sure that you get the teams. They're your teams, but you are better connected than what you was without these teams. Again, looking at this next slide, just right here on your left side, looking at the slide, the basic training is 21 hours of training, 21 to 28 hours of training. And what you're going to get is the training modules in the manual that FEMA gives is a disaster preparedness, command capacity, knowing what's going on, fire safety. Yeah, I gave the brothers the manual, the recent training manual. There are modules in there for you to learn. And again, this is basic training. You're going to learn something about light search and rescue. You're going to learn something about medical operations so that you can handle and know how to hold that patient to the best of your ability until help arrives, until the first aids get there. And in a major situation, it can take a long time. You're going to learn something about light search and rescue, disaster psychology, because you don't want to be around a situation. You don't want to be around nobody. They just lost their kid, and you just sit there and say, "I know what you're going through," when you don't have no clue what that person is going through. And you're going to learn something about terrorism. Let me say this real quick to give you the significance of how I teach the course. It's like, for example, in the book it talks about terrorism, and it only talks about war and man-made situations in war. But I break it down to you to let you know white supremacy is one of the heaviest forms of terrorism that has been messing with the black community and still is messing with the black community. And we need to be aware of how that works. And so it's real to what we learn and what we do as a CERT team, or what you should do as a black CERT team. Because I train white folks too, but as a black CERT team, we really know what the hell going on. And the last side, I'm gonna just say with a couple of sentences on the right side, when you have a perspective as I have, then you know, when you get this training, you're an extension of first responders, because you're there as a team member to help the people until the first responders to get there. And you're a disaster asset because you're not an idiot running around with your thumb up your butt saying, what we gonna do? But at the same time, once you got this training, and there's more training, there's more things you can do to learn about how the system is supposed to work. That's what makes you a really powerful asset in your community. Go ahead, brother.
I can chime in real quick. And so we had two different pieces. And so the Sister Brooke Sinclair said, make the government work for you. If I don't know that this is there to be accessed, then guess what I'm not going to be able to do? I'm not going to be able to ask. I'm not going to take action items to make it work for us. And then the Sister Cherry Wallflower said, okay, I have a degree in Homeland Security. That's very ironic. I know a couple of sisters that went into Homeland Security and law enforcement. So that's obviously a great step, and it ties in with the concept of how do you make a government work for you? Do you make it work for you by sitting back waiting for it to do something, or do you assert yourself? If I could say the word safely, you know, it's like saying, hey, is there a safe place to lay in the lion's mouth? But, you know, when I was young and started fighting, I learned you kind of got to grab people's collars so they can't get away from you, and you get your blows in. But saying that to say, there is an indelible relationship that you have to have with your governing body. Tying to the point that you said about terrorism and white supremacy, Brother Shabazz didn't make that up. Your government of today told you that this is one of the largest terror groups. And unfortunately, a lot of us, we see it as this headline. We'll see a couple of news articles talking about it, and then on to the next drama. This has an indelible effect on when disaster does come. I don't want to take your time, but I remember years ago, I'd see these stories about these FEMA zones. You know, in the case of an emergency, I was looking at it from the New Madrid fault. They were talking about these fault lines and all these possible things that could happen. But I remember them talking about these FEMA zones. And so during your discussion, if you could just touch briefly on that, and then the plausibility of something going wrong. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist. You don't have to be paranoid to see that things are changing. If I have a degree in Homeland Security, what is my next step? You know, how do I take advantage of something like CERT? How do I spread this to the community? What is the practical 1, 2, 3 step to do this?
So, boy, there is so much that you just said right there, to the point where I have a YouTube channel, right? So and I'll get out the YouTube channel information, but it's not a matter of if something's going to happen to us and affect us. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. And that might sound like a lightweight statement, but for example, you talked about the 10 FEMA regions, right? You mentioned that the United States is divided up into 10 FEMA regions, right? Matter of fact, on my YouTube channel, which is CEFEMAP space news, CEFEMAP space news. I got a playlist, and the third, I believe the third video is a white guy who is questioning Oliver North. Okay, and he's questioning Oliver North about something, and I'm not going to belay this. He's talking to Oliver North about, I heard that there's something about the Constitution being suspended, and the rest of the senators around there be like, ho, 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 shh, 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 shh. And so the white guy persists to ask, well, you know me, and he says to Mr. Chairman, he turns to Mr. Chairman, I heard that there's something that's supposed to potentially happen called something to potentially spend the Constitution, and they like do them again, like, shh, we don't want the niggas to know. They don't really say it like that, but the reality is the United States is going to be put into a situation where the Constitution is suspended. We go into 10 FEMA regions with regional government, and if we're not ready, see, my thing is to have us connected, because this CERT reality connects us to the system. For whatever it's worth, it connects us to the system. Because again, you might have to break out your gadget anytime and do what you got to do because the system failed you, right? But at least you have that initial umbilical cord connection to get through whatever happens. Because when the brother talked about the fact that white supremacy is a real issue, and again, there's white supremacy working from within the government that we need to be worried about. That again, I can't take the time to try to talk about that. Again, I got stuff on the YouTube channel that you can go look at. For example, me talking about the power grid going out. I'm not just saying it out the top of my dome. Ted Koppel, who, if we're old enough, know Ted Koppel was a seasoned, reputable journalist who wrote a book called Lights Out. And he talks about the fact that the power grid is going out. And he's talking about, when he was talking to Jay Johnson, who was over the head of Homeland Security, he said, don't you think we need to get this information out to the people so they can get ready for it? And Jay Johnson said, well, there's something. He pointed to some binders up there and said, we got a plan for it. And this is a black guy who should know that black people going to be in the most trouble if something. And okay, so that's that. On that note, again, and you can look at the short video on the YouTube channel. Then right after that, I got a clip of former Secretary of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano. When she left the Department of Homeland Security, and I believe she left the Department of Homeland Security because she was like, oh, hell no, I can't be a part of this madness. But when she left the Department of Homeland Security, she went on a tour. And during the tour, she was speaking to an all-white audience. You see this in the video, where they asked her, well, what is this power grid thing looking like, and how and when could it happen? And she says it could happen imminently. Like, niggas don't know like black people don't know what imminent mean. Imminent mean is going to happen. The grid is going to go down, and it's going to be very costly to a lot of people. Again, we need to get ready for these things. And again, just like I said, Jay Johnson, who was in charge of Homeland Security, even our black leaderships, our black politicians, and this is a whole nother show, our black politicians. Right now, I'm dealing with the Cincinnati Fire Department, right? Because the last fire chief didn't want to support us anymore. But you got black people that are really putting black people in a bad situation. And I'll leave that at that. But did I touch base on some of the realities that we have to face?
Yes. And if you could just touch on some of these other items to be prepared.
Oh, again, and I can one or two line this reality on being prepared. You need to get, the Nation of Islam has a process called a system or organizations called activity called the 10,000 Fearless, which Minister Farrakhan put in motion. Now, I'm a student in the Nation of Islam. I'm working on some 2010 stuff that the minister, I'm at my position right now because in 2010, the minister told us to not let what happened in Katrina happen to us again, and the Haiti earthquake had just taken place. And so, I'm working from that perspective as a registered active student in the Nation of Islam. But since then, the minister called for something called the 10,000 Fearless. Okay. Now, if you're a part of the 10,000 Fearless, you need to pay attention to what I'm telling you, because you need to understand how this system works, because the minister told us to understand. He said particularly we should learn emergency management. What the Black community has learned and what's being pushed out there is disaster preparedness. The Nation of Islam recently in Savior's Day did 4 hours and some minutes on disaster preparedness. They didn't do a good 5 minutes within their presentation. Now, all the presentations were good, but they didn't touch on emergency management. And emergency management is when you deal with a community of people, not just individuals. So again, being brief and succinct, we need to have teams that are connected to this system, that are willing people, not just anybody, but people who want to take this particular training and then learn some more stuff. Because if you're in Alabama, if you're in Mississippi, I may be in a situation where I need some food that y'all can get to me, right? Where I need to have mutual aid agreement with you, where I'm getting some from you because you got it down there. And the mutual aid agreement system, for example, and I don't want to go off on a tangent. For example, there's a armory, a guard armory, a military guard, United States military guard armory near me. I could actually, as a part of this system that I'm working with, I can actually go to the commander of that armory and say, hey, you know what? I got a mutual aid agreement with some people in Kentucky, right? To get some corn or some whatever. Now if we do go up under a martial law situation, could you make sure that my stuff from Kentucky gets brought up here? And he can say, well, hell yeah, Negro, I'll help you like that. That's pretty smart of you. You know what I'm saying? To go ahead and make a mutual aid agreement and then come to me because I'm going to be in charge of the situation. He can do that. He can make sure that happens if we go into a type of situation like that. Now, that's intelligent work on my part to put that in play for us, right? So this is the kind of thinking we need to do. But if we think like Negroes, and we just waiting on these other people to do it, what they'll do is like what they did in Katrina and other places. You'll be waiting on your supplies, and they got your supplies being sold to people in Florida or other places like that.
Let me ask you this, not to be abstract. What does this look like in every community? We try to be practical and realistic. Like,
yes, sir.
Everybody's not going to buy in. So in a community, you got collectives of people that do care and are receiving what's being discussed. How many CERT first responders should there be per community of, I would say, 10,000? Like how many Brother Shabazz per, using Cincinnati as a reference, how many people within your capacity and training should there be, whether you're in Mississippi, whether you're in California, whether you're in New York, whether you're in Houston, Texas? How many should there be? And then if you could kind of tell the family to put in perspective how many there are that are melanated.
Okay. Very, very good point, brother. Very good question. And we started our team off. I was working in the computer lab working with a sister, and she said, brother, we need a resident council over here, Brother Leroy. And I was like, cool. Let's start a resident council. And so we started a resident council in a particular housing development, public housing development, right? And we started a team for that development. And so that team should represent that development to the system and making sure that all those people, even though, and if you got a good team, be it 12, be it 15, be it 20 people who want to be involved, that's your core team. Now, down the street from that, that public housing is a whole community. That community council should have a CERT team connected to it to represent that community, some committed people. I'll even say this and point out to this. FEMA has 5 programs in a folder. One of the programs, the only program, and CERT is one of them. The other program that Black people know about is Citizens on Patrol. But all we know about Citizens on Patrol as a program is like it might be some old people driving around telling on people, something to that effect, right? But that program can be so much more, just like I'm trying to say that the CERT program can be and should be so much more for our community. Now, what has happened in my experience is that approach community councils. These are the official community councils that are connected to the city process and the government process, right? But then what you do is you run into this niggerism stuff where it's like, hold on, brother, you coming in with a little bit too much strength. It's too much force. You a little bit too black. You a little bit, and then you already got a bucking situation from the establishment. Like, no, we don't want you to have that much insight into being able to help yourself and do. We want, you to lean on. So, and getting back to specifics of your question, every community council should have a CERT team connected to it, right? And there should be potentially sub groups connected in the community connected to the community councils or the resident. You follow what I'm saying? If you live in an area where you just like got about 40 or 50 houses and a couple of apartment buildings, then if you got a team right there, at least the people should know, because some people ain't gonna want to have to do nothing with what you're talking about. Nigga, I don't care. I ain't worried about it. I don't play that black stuff. You might get some of that. But at the same time, when dude will hit the fan, you be like, hold on. They be like, hey, did you say something about we knowing where our water gonna come from? And you be there for them. You follow what I'm saying? Because your team knows where the water is coming from and know where the water should be coming from. So in reference to black CERT teams, I was introduced to this process about CERT through some brothers. Like there's a Captain Rudolph in New York from the Nation of Islam, and Captain Khalid in Texas. In 2010 at the Nation of Islam's convention, they told me something about the CERT program. So they have the CERT program, and for them, Captain Khalid down in Texas, I know they were probably credentialed and working with their community council because their county, because their people whoever the people were down there in charge were kind of lenient toward them, and so they had a good situation. Now, with that being said, I don't know about any other black CERT teams that have a perspective as I have it, that know that we need to be worried about B1 as a CERT team, B1. Now, I have trained white people, and when white people in the class, I'm talking B1 activity about what this CERT team is about. We got to look out for ours because that's the reality. And again, when I got trained by my basic training that I took from a white CERT team, when I got my training, they didn't expect me to stick around and smell their butts. They told me, go ahead back to my neighborhood and get your own CERT team up. And that's exactly what they helped me to do. So I hope I answered that sufficiently.
Yes, and the point is, the point that I gathered from what you said. What do they say? The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes, sir.
And so, we're not in this to try to make friends. We're here to perpetuate the B1 community to the next level, not just to survive, but to thrive. I imagine, I've never thought in the mind of a white supremacist, but I imagine, okay, when disaster hits, I don't want all of these liabilities. I don't want all these dark people coming to my door asking for me for something. There's a handful of them that's like, yeah, I want you to be lenient on me. But when you see that this leniency, okay, they're surrounding my house and they want my food. And so to that degree, I would imagine the most racist person that you would never sit down and eat dinner with, like, here, I'll show you something so you don't come invading my house.
Exactly. And sir, let me tell you, Farmer Brown, the reality is, again, on my YouTube, on the website I got, the bottom line is that FEMA recognized something called a zombie apocalypse. They recognize a zombie apocalypse. They recognize that people ain't getting ready for what's about to happen. They know people ain't getting ready. And then, see, I can go deep into this stuff to the point where, like, FEMA know that they're going to end up cutting the food off to the people who ain't ready. Man, this is an ugly situation. So the zombie apocalypse is what I'm speaking on right here, right now. That's the reality of people who have not gotten ready. And even our community has to worry about our own black, because there are brothers that know kind of what I know. They prepared to, I had to slap some of my sons talking about going to take something from somebody in the hood, just because they got the weaponry to do it. I got to convince them that no, we need to step up and if necessary, protect our community and try to get them through it. Now, with that being said, I understand the reality of Black preppers. There's a sister that I'm looking forward to working with named Sharon Ross. She's a Black prepper. You can find her on YouTube as Afrovivalist, Afrovivalist, and check her out. But there are preppers out here who say that, Brother Leroy, you trying to get the community ready and stuff like that, man, you going to get yourself messed up trying to help the community. But the reality behind that is that as Black men, we should be stepping up and being complete men to control. This is the whole reality of what white supremacy is scared of. We're going to man up and start taking care of our community. And then let's get back to the subject of agriculture. And then we're going to go back and figure out how to sit down at the dinner table and feed our people some good food and create a new paradigm that's going to produce family and sitting down. That's the whole reality of what we're trying to get to.
I hope, because today was just like kind of getting the people's tongue wet, right? Because we're going to do a whole series with Brother Shabazz. This is very timely. I don't believe in any such thing as coincidence. The All Black National Convention was life changing for me, being around that many, because I've been stuck up here in Kentucky for a while since the lockdown, right? I hadn't done much traveling, and so to be around that many codified melanated family who's really not just focused on pointing out what's going wrong, but really focused on solutions. And, I was fortunate to meet a lot of people there, but, that interaction, it was a very brief interaction we had when we first met in the first session. And it makes all of the sense in the world. But before we started this podcast, we were talking about this is war. Our family, I don't think people understand, there's a difference between metaphor and reality. This is a reality. That there is a war on many different levels. What do they call it? A multi-dimensional chessboard. And when you think about obviously we have Louverture, Toussaint, and we've had other war generals, but I think one of the more popular ones is Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a successful war general because they mastered food preservation. He was able to feed his soldiers so they could continue whatever campaign they were on. So when we talk about this melanated community, when we talk about this army of just caring people, any war that was going on, you never had the whole population at war. It was the soldiers. It was the militants. The relationship that you're talking about, man, I hate to jump around because this conversation is going to go deep. You brought up about your sons. I'm thinking about the drama going on right now with young Dolph. We'd like to send our condolences to his family and loved ones. There's this thing called drill music, right? And it's, it's spreading like wildfire. And this is just this embracing us gunning each other down. The sister Vicky Dillard touched on it earlier, saying these are our warriors. These are our warriors. When it comes to combat, let's just be honest. These are the individuals more predispositioned to defend. And so when we think about this, what are we defending? Are we defending somebody's property that we call our hood or our block? Are we defending these networks, these CERT networks, these emergency response networks that, okay, brother, while you doing the defense of the land and the resources, I'm putting together this plan to make sure people are safe, making sure we have options. I mean, if you want to go to the FEMA camp, that's cool. But we, because some of us, you said 20 within the community have sat and planned this out, we have other options if that's the direction you want to go. We have protection along this, what do they call it? The Great Migration, the Trail of Tears. We didn't have drillers when our ancestors were on the Trail of Tears. We have drillers now. We have internet. We have information. Like you said, radio. And so once again, it goes down to a code, but really understanding that there is a real live war going on.
Yes, sir.
Multiple fronts. If you talk, and I ain't gonna talk your head off, man, but you.
No, sir. If I can, I feel you. It means I feel the words that are coming in out of your mouth and they're hitting my eardrums. I feel you.
If you listen to white, I try to listen to everybody that has something to say. I'm a lifelong learner. If you listen to the most extreme right-wing factions right now, they literally see themselves as being under attack, at war. They frame their lived experience. These are your white supremacists, right? They frame their experiences. I'm under attack. Within the ag community, there's this concept: when a white farmer catches a cold, the black farmers catch pneumonia. That would apply to me when it comes to a community. If they see themselves at war, what does that mean? What does that mean for us?
Can I interject here, brother? Again, I work with a FEMA program, right? And people need to understand FEMA is an aspect of the military and the government and the military establishment, right? FEMA ain't really trying to keep me alive as a citizen. FEMA is trying to keep the state, the federal and the state to the county level alive. That's their priority. When you get down to these cities, that's a whole different conversation for what's going on with stakeholders and other little things that you can call these people in the cities that's running stuff. But FEMA is an aspect of the government and the military, right? That's very important. And in the papers I gave you guys, a couple of sheets that I gave you guys when we were at the All Black National Convention, right? One of them was a diagram about war. And one of the things I pointed out is that when the military goes to war, they just don't go like, we just fighting, we just gonna run over here. Let's run over there. No, let's run over here. No, they got plans. There's objective, there's offensive, there's mass, there's maneuver. There are principles that they use. And then once they take a country, they don't just like, oh, we got the country. Now what we gonna do with it? There's something called the United States Department of Aid in the United States Department of International Development. Anyway, it's a department that takes over when they take the country, and they find the people from that country who want to do what they want them to do, and they give them the capacity to do what they want to do. Now, you brought up Vicky Dillard, and a quick mention, because what Vicky Dillard and what Yvette Carnell and some of these other people that are really talking about our black leadership, they are pointing out that our black leadership is no better than the people, for the most part, who our country has been taken, and then they found the right black leadership to put us in a situation to where, we not getting what we need as the real people, but they in leadership doing their thing, and they sucking off the biscuits and the stuff like that. What our sister bones and biscuits, and biscuits. And this is and brothers and sisters, this is not just a political conversation. This goes to a biblical point in reality, because really you got preachers involved with this sellout situation with us, and if they. It's going to get ugly if we leave those people in their leadership. So again, what I'm looking at here is a point of conclusion of what my statement is that we need to really support this black network. Everybody needs to be pushing out B1AG right now. And as this conversation develops and gets more intense and insightful, I hope to stay with this B1AG process and push B1AG, because the bottom line is that, again, and I'm gonna say this real quickly, brother, because one of the things, brothers and sisters, that this first broadcast initially was going to talk about is the 3 phases of a nation. And the first phase of a nation is its agriculture phase. After what we're going through right now, the last phase of a country is when there's is knowledge and technology, right? And that's when you get a point where people go through revolution and evolution and things like that, right? So we're in a phase of this nation right now where there's about to be revolution and evolution, if not straight destruction. And that's why destruction, evolution, that's why you got to be disaster prepared for all of these things that are taking place. And if we don't corral our leadership with the new black media that's trying to push the new paradigm of change, then we're going to be in a bad way, because the CERT program that I'm trying to push and the 10,000 Fearless, we need to be connected to our people. We need to be connected to the legal structure as an umbilical cord until we can break away with the reparations, whatever we're going to do. I'm done.
Just wetting the tongue, family. I ain't gonna front. Sometimes it is frustrating, the menial things people find to be disgruntled about. Why do you got yellow glasses on? John, your voice is too deep. It's like, do you hear what's being said? Either it's right or it's wrong. What we have going on, and you hit it. This is so much deeper than human activity. There is an indelible spiritual component to this, to me, and I can only speak for myself, right? This is way more spiritual than anything else. The Most High endowed, however, one frames the Most High, the Creator, the Grand Architect, however you frame it, we were endowed with adaptations. We're endowed with skills, brains. We were endowed with one another. We allowed over decades individualism to kind of divide us. We've allowed some of these different systems, and I keep saying allowed. I don't see us as victims more so than, you're in a jungle, there's predators, there's prey. Somebody convinced us that we're prey when we were the original, lions of the jungle, so to speak. And so saying that to say, it's like, as we frame this conversation, as we look forward to really building on this series with you, the concept is, what are the things that bring us together, regardless of what political side you're on, regardless of what religious side, regardless of if you're, pro this or pro that, we all have to eat. I imagine everybody that's watching, everybody that may watch later, at least cares about their family and the people around them, right? People who hate themselves are dangerous people to be around. And so when we have this conversation, we're talking to people that love themselves and understand the selfish thing to do to preserve self is to preserve your family, preserve your community. How do you preserve these? Like you said, the first tenet of nation building, when we have this concept of Black nation, is being able to feed ourselves. That's why we do healthyblackfood.com. The concept is we want to go through a codified approach. This is how you start a seed. Whether you want to go into agricultural production, cool. Whether you want to go into just disaster preparedness, cool. Whether you want to go into entrepreneurship, cool. But everything in this season that we're in, the spiritual, this physical season that we're in, starts with the seed. I tend to believe we do have a control over what this paradigm is going to turn into. There is this concept of order out of chaos. Before you can build a new structure, you have to tear down what's been there. You brought up 9/11 earlier. I do believe in symbolism. Before there was a such thing as letters and words, there were symbols. The system that our ancestors were praying, the oppression that our ancestors were praying to end, something resonated and it started happening. This isn't an overnight demolition. This is when you understand systems as you do, you understand systems are very intricate. And so nothing just happens overnight, but it's that ability, what do they say? Study the ant. Ants aren't going around with booklets. They're preparing. They're constantly in the phase and action of preparing. They're not talking about, it's all these anteaters that just come and knocking down our ant mounds. As the progeny of mound builders, they're constantly in the process of building. And so once again, we're so grateful for your time today, and we look forward to really diving deeper into this conversation.
Thank you, brother, for having me on here. For the sake of the people that I'm gonna push this video to, could you again mention those learning aspects that you guys push out? Because again, because I'm gonna put some out here to Black females. Could you point out the things that they can do with their children about learning about agriculture? Could you mention that again?
Starting with the seed.
We definitely need to learn or get back Black to the garden. We need to learn how to grow our own food. We need to learn how to work together in growing our own food and distributing our own food. We need to get back to just connecting with each other across this land, because when it hits the fan, we are going to need each other. We all have unique resources and abilities and talents where we are. And our ability to be able to connect these talents and resources in times of disaster, trouble, is going to be paramount. I would like to share with y'all a picture. This is from Hurricane Katrina. Can y'all see this? Our people were in despair. Our people were in trouble. Our people were unprepared. And they were left at the mercies of, the government to get them their help. And they were very slow in doing that. And honestly, we seen how with the stories of the black people trying to cross that bridge over to, the no more non-melanated communities, and those people were shot down right on that bridge. So we need to make sure that we have our own bridge that we've built ourselves, leading a path of safety for our people. Now, this isn't about being non-disparaging towards other communities or whatever, but hey, man, I hope they can't. I hope they're not being mad. They won't get mad at us for us just wanting to be prepared, because I know they're getting prepared. They have ways of making sure that they're safe. So this is something that we have to think of, and it has to be at the forefront of our mind as well. I know we like the social media and all the salacious content, and the videos talking about whatever they're talking about. But what we need to focus on is life, real life, because it's happening all day, every day. And even though we're distracted, we can never forget that real life is happening all day, every day, and it's not happening necessarily on your phone. It's happening right outside your door, right outside your window. And we don't want to wait until trouble's knocking on your door. We don't want to wait till that trouble's knocking on your door to be like, oh, snap. When trouble knocks on your door, we were like, I knew you were coming. I already know what to do. I'm ready. So disaster preparedness, emergency preparedness, food security, all this goes hand in hand, because when disaster strikes or when an emergency happens, food and water, shelter, need to have these things mapped out and ready to go. And that's what we want for our community. That's what we want for all communities. All peoples need to have this, but we need to make sure that our community is prepared as well. Because again, this is B1. We need to make sure that we're ready. Because situations like this picture, where we gotta cry for help and wave a flag just to kind of remind them, hey, we're Americans too. Y'all can help us too. Please help us. Nah, we need to make sure that, we're ready. We don't want to be in despair. Now, we talked about, I know y'all mentioned earlier about the zombie apocalypse. And my theory, when it comes to zombies, we've seen the zombie movies, people walking around. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, a zombie is nothing more than desperate people.
That's FEMA's opinion too, brother.
Desperate people, man. Hungry people, desperate people, people in despair, in mass. Those are zombies, because they are coming to get whatever they can get. They're going to grab what they can grab, and they're going to do whatever they feel they need to do to survive. So we need to make sure that in case of an emergency, natural disaster, grid goes out, anything can happen. I don't even want to, put this out in the atmosphere too much, but we just want to make sure that we are ready, so we don't have to get ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So this is going to be a series, y'all. This is just to get our, dipping our toes in the water, just to make an introduction. This is going to be a series. We're going to make sure we're going to do our B1AG. It's going to make sure that we do our part along with brother Leroy Shabazz. We're going to do our part to at least present to you This is what's available for us. This is what you can do for yourself. And this is what you can make sure that you and your family, your loved ones are secure, and how we can link to make sure that all of our loved ones, our families are secure and we're prepared. And when it goes down, because it's going to go down, because it always goes down. Natural disasters happen. Look at Haiti. Look at Houston. Look at Hurricane Katrina. Look at New York when all the floods. These things are happening more and more frequently. And again, this is biblical. There are a lot of biblical connotations. So, what side of history do you want to be on? What side of righteousness do you want to be on? What side of Savior being saved do you want to be on? Let's not be in a position of needing help. Let's be in a position of we're ready to help. Let's not be in a position of despair. Let's be in a position to bring hope. This is the power that being prepared can do for us and our communities. Just being prepared. We won't being prepared does not bring despair. Being prepared brings hope. It's strength. It's power. Any final words, fellas?
I would say that if anyone would like to know specifically, take a good specific look at what CERT is about, I have a website. It's called CECERT.org. CECERT.org. And as soon as you get there, you'll see something that says, what is CERT? It's a video to give you a 5-minute video about the training, a 3-minute video about the training, stuff like that. So check that out. And of course, the YouTube channel. Again, I'm honored to be here with you, brothers, and look forward to, let me say one quick thing. Again, just to wet the whistle. When we talked about the phases of a nation, there's the agricultural phase, the second phase is the industrial manufacturing phase, and the third phase is a knowledge technology phase, right? We're going to go more into that in the future, because right now we're looking at the agricultural phase, because that's why they brought us over here, y'all, and we can go more into that.
Starts with a seed. You muted, bro.
We're planting this seed, y'all. We're planting this seed for hope, preparedness, and hey, like I said, we'd rather be in a position to help than to need to be helped. So let's get started early. And again, as always, hey, y'all, we're pushing this black algorithm. We're fighting against the algorithm. Funny thing, it's funny how they just don't want such good information to get out to the people. This is all helpful information. And it's funny how the algorithm just kind of stifles this information, but we're pushing against that algorithm, and we're pushing that black algorithm, agriculture, food, growing your own food, being prepared.
Pushing the black algorithm. Ancestors, they mastered the systems. We raising your bosses, no victims. Planting that knowledge curriculum. Blessing the boots with the nutrients. The darker the berry, black Nubian. Dropping receipts like I'm Julian. The streets with that food like Peruvian. Trapping the merch and the fruits and the veggies. CSA boxes, my package is heavy. Ship across town in the bed of my Chevy. Printing them up, growing hard for that baby. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta scramble. Bet on black farmers and growers, no gamble. Reclaiming our pain cause the game is in shambles. Blessed with that melanin, carry the mantle. Mothers and fathers of civilization. Black to the garden with food cultivation. Building back better through black innovation. B1 community growing the nation. Genetically designed to be the dopest. Stoking that growth mindset. Codified, now we focus farming on back on track. Feed the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Now watch me get 'em, watch me get 'em. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Feed the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Watch me get 'em, watch me get 'em. That. information at B1AG.
So everyone, this has been a great show. This has been a great introduction. It's been a great introduction. But there's so much more to come. Trust us, there's so much more to come. Great information. Like I said, we're here to help. We're here to spread great information. We're here to bring strength to the community. We're here to bring strength to the people. So, as we conclude today's show, hope y'all learned a lot. We have a lot more that we're going to share. We're going to bring Brother Shabazz back. There's levels to this, y'all. Y'all thought I was playing, didn't you? There's levels to this. Y'all see that? Y'all see that dirt in the background? There's levels to this. There's grass on top. But boy, we getting deep, and we're gonna get deep. We're gonna keep getting deeper and deeper. Because that's where all the good stuff is. That's where the diamonds are. That's where the gold is. That's where the jewels and the gems are. That's where the roots are. So here, B1AG. That's right. That's where the roots are. So here at B1AG, we're going to stay firmly planted and deeply rooted in reality, in love, and preparedness. Until next time, that's Farmer Brown MC. I'm John Henry Harris. We got Leroy Shabazz. See you soon. Peace.